And we had a very nice residence. It was like a castle. And he granted permission to some rabbis, to stay there in Nitra. So if some rabbi fled from some place, he came there, and they called it the Little Vatican, the Jewish Vatican. And when things got very bad, so one representative, I think that Weissmandl, did you ever read a book by him? He was the one maybe who went to him to intervene, so he yelled at him, "You Jews never recognize Christ, and this is your punishment, and why shouldn't you?" This was his answer.
Tell me about when your baby was born and the date.
Oh yeah, it's important to note that, as I mentioned, Paula came to see me, and when she left, I accompanied her. I walked with her to the station, which was a very, very long way. And when I came back, I felt already, and on the way, I met the chauffeur of our company in Bratislava, and I asked him what he was doing here. He said, well, after the bombing, I tried to bring the family for safety reasons. And I asked him, where does he live? And he told me. And I just made a mental note of it. And here, when the baby was born, the 3rd of August, 1944, the partisans rose up against the government, and in many places, So we Jews thought that this is it, we are free. And Olga, my sister, she hugged everybody outside in the street. And it turned out that just a few weeks later, Hitler's army actually marched in.
Who was with you when you had the baby, and where did you have the baby? Did you have the baby in a hospital?
I had it in a hospital, yeah. And the airplanes were coming there also, the bombers. So every day I was in the hospital, I think 8 days or more, 10 days. I was very weak. And the obstetrician, he was very kind and nice, he behaved very nicely towards us. I remember when I gave birth, he called in my husband and called him colleague, and he said, well, I'm not a colleague anymore. So he said, well, you know that it won't last any longer. So he asked each time if I want to be carried down to the shelter. And I always said, no, nothing happened. When it was the 8th day, you give a breast. So they came to pick him up, to take him to the breast.
We'll continue on the next tape.
Okay.
My name is Lucy Samarodin. I'm the interviewer. Mrs. Katz, we were talking about the day of your son's bris. You want to tell me about that?
Yeah. They came, and I saw how they wound the swastika up, I never saw it here at the bris doing it. And it reminded me of the Al-Qaeda, Akedah means, you find it in the Bible, describe how Abraham took his son to God told him that he should put him and make a sacrifice out of him. In other words, he had to kill him. And he was ready, had the knife already, and then the angel called down that he should stop. And I felt, what am I doing? I'm giving him a breast. But I was so determined to do it. Still, I cried, and I asked God that he should protect him. And they took him, they took him to my mother, and she blessed him. And she said to my sister, she's just waiting for me to come home and give me a mazel tov. And then she said, it's all right. Meaning, it's all right if she dies. I have to say that she was already in a coma. And she got better. And that's why I was praying to God he should keep her at least to have this host, to see her new grandchild.
Where was your mother living at the time?
With my sister in Nitra.
Oh, in Nitra.
Yeah, that all was in Nitra. And my husband's father, my father-in-law, took the trip from Bratislava for the bris, and he didn't have a permit to travel, but nobody bothered him. But on the way back, when my husband took him to the station, he was stopped by the militia, and they asked him, where is your Jewish star? And my husband took out 200 crowns and gave him right away and let him go. When he came back, he was so tense. He opened his tie, loosened his tie, and he said, just to spite him, I'm going to bring him up as a good Jew. So, but he didn't live to see it. He saw the baby, and we were together maybe for 4 weeks. And one day, we knew that Germany is going to come in, but we didn't know the day. So we tried to look for places where to hide, and the landlord suggested that they go all into the cellar of his house where Olga lived, and he will camouflage it. He will put an ice box there at the entrance. And so they were there maybe a week. And the landlord himself, it turned out, informed on them, and they came and they took him away.
Where were you at this time?
I did not mention it,